I today have the pleasure of introducing and interviewing Carlos Cedillos. He's a daykeeper, and he just told me that the translation Ashkij could be translated more correctly as sun priest than daykeeper. Daykeeper is like maybe a more pedestrian sounding term, but definitely,
Correct. Yes.
yeah, definitely has the spiritual connection, the sun priest, solar, solar spirit. Um, and Carlos, let me just ask you first of all, where do you live?
I live in New Braunfels, Texas. It's very central in the hill country, right between Austin and San Antonio.
Oh, that sounds lovely. And when did you first learn about the Mayan calendar?
I believe that it was just in my awareness ever since I was a small child. And
Lovely.
my parents had taken us on a vacation to Mexico City. And I guess I don't know if I was 4 or 5. It was long,
Right.
so long ago. I do remember seeing the huge calendar stone, the big Aztec calendar stone when I was very
Sure.
small, and I left a big impression because it was
Oh,
huge. To actually be next to the real thing is pretty amazing. I hear that it actually used to lay flat.
yeah.
That it's not actually supposed to be standing up like a clock. It's
Right.
supposed to be laying down
Yeah.
and or the four directions, and I guess the top of it would be the north, I think. And so that was a place actually to make sacrifice on,
Right.
not art sacrifices. I think that's exaggerated a little bit by the
Yeah,
uh,
I am not sure. I do think it did happen, but I
right.
don't think it was anything like the movie Apocalypto.
Well, it was actually more of the ancient Olmec
Okay.
and some of the Teotihuacanis and there were many other actually different cultures there, but I think by the time the Aztec peoples were in charge, that they were really doing a lot of uh, very excessive sacrificing, and it kind of made their neighbors not like them so much. And so when Cortez came along, he just recruited their neighbors who already didn't like them to help him fight
Right.
conquer the
Yeah.
Aztec. So yeah,
Yes. Some very complicated history there. So from a
yeah.
young age, you were absorbing the information, and then um, like I know you're a very accomplished artist. You live your art, you create. When did the Mayan influence start to come into your art, do you feel?
I that's a it kind of was a process because I was traveling a great deal in
Oh,
Mexico
right.
first in the mid '90s. After I was done with college, I decided just to retire instead and go to Mexico,
Right.
and went to the deserts and I went to the pyramids and the jungles. And
Yeah.
I, I would what I would do is I would collect crystals in these
Yeah.
little mining towns in the jungles,
And you
or
would
not in
go,
the in the desert region,
yes.
and then bring them back and sell them and
Yeah.
make another trip down there.
Would
So I
actually
kept
collect them yourself? Like you would go, how would that happen?
uh, mainly I would meet the miners, and
Yes.
they would have their collection that they brought
Okay.
out in
Cool.
there. But sometimes I did, of course, say I want to go in the mine and
Yeah.
help
Wow.
and try to hammer some out. So I did that a little bit, but I did get to make friends with a lot of the miners in these small towns, and you just be nice to people and ask around, and they'll say, okay, well, look at all these crystals I got. Or
I
sometimes like I would trade them for like a camera or something that I had. I say, here, I'll trade you for these. They just
wow.
make a business, and then bring them back. And actually by selling them to people here back in the States,
Yeah.
I would meet lots of other spiritual people who
True.
knew the real power of the crystals,
Yeah.
and how to feel and read the energies. with those. And so when I actually there was another shaman lady that I met here in San Marcos, whose name was Caroline, and she passed away years
Uh-huh.
ago. But she was kind of got me started. Taught me how to use a pendulum, how to
Oh,
use a pendulum, and divining rods that would spin in your hand, and you start getting all these messages like this
wow.
from the. So she actually got me started and told me that I would be making um, medicine drums.
Oh, cool.
Of course, I didn't. What happened? It was this, not exactly a medicine drum, but I started to make my own canvases, and so
Right.
you have to stretch them like a drum,
Sure.
and they're actually quite neat when you start doing the
Yeah.
artwork like that. So, as far as actually putting paint and the brushes, that
Yeah.
didn't happen till uh, May of 2000, right at
Okay.
the turn of the millennium. And there
Yeah.
was a conjunction of planets in Taurus.
Okay.
All the visible planets were aligned in Taurus.
Yeah.
And so that got me thinking about, okay, I need to commemorate this moment. And I had been playing my classical guitar a lot, and that would, that was
Yeah.
my real gig in selling the crystals. And so it's like I could start something new. Picked up some brushes, and I painted a big mural on my wall outside of my house, and it's still there today. There.
Fantastic. Now, hey, you just reminded me of by mentioning that shaman woman that I want to do a little ceremony before we get too far into our
Sure.
conversation here. Bring in the energies of the Maya of the day. So I'm going to light a candle and burn some sage and bring in the energies of the Tzolk'in. So by lighting this candle, I'm entering ceremony. I like to keep my candle on this little rock. It's just the best. It's got this little spot right here. Look at that, hey? Done thousands of ceremonies with this little rock. I've got some sage, white sage from Vancouver that I always use. By burning this sacred sage, I'm giving thanks to Mother Nature and Goddess Sophia Gaia and all of the red glyphs of the Mayan Tzolk'in calendar. Thank you, Imish. Thank you, Chikchan. Thank you, Muluk. Thank you, Ben. And thank you, Kaban. We thank you for your sunrise, your springtime, your element of earth, and our physical bodies. We receive your energies, we give them to Gaia, and Gaia gives them back to you by waving this eagle feather and giving thanks to the white glyphs of the Mayan Tzolk'in calendar. Thank you, Ik. Thank you, Kimi. Thank you, Oak. Thank you, Ish. And thank you, Etsnab. Thank you for your midnight, your winter, your element of air, and our spiritual bodies. We receive your energies. We give them to Gaia, and Gaia gives them back to you. By touching this sacred water, I'm giving thanks to the blue and black glyphs of the Mayan calendar. Thank you, Akabal. Thank you, Manik. Thank you, Chuen. Thank you, Men. And thank you, Kawak. We thank you for your sunsets, your autumn, your element of water, and our emotional bodies. We receive your energies, we give them to Gaia, and Gaia gives them back to you. By touching this flame, I'm giving thanks to the yellow glyphs of the Mayan Tzolk'in. Thank you, Khan. Thank you, Lamat. Thank you, Eb. Thank you, Kib, and thank you, Ahau. We thank you for your noon, your summer, your element of fire, and our thinking bodies. We receive your energies, we give them to Gaia, and Gaia gives them back to you. Today I'm also giving thanks to the 13 numbers of the Dzogchen. Thank you. Hun, Ka, Osh, Kan, Ho, Wak, Uk, Vajak, Bolon, Lahun, Hun Lahun, Ka Lahun, Osh Lahun. Today I'm giving thanks to the 9 lords of Shibalba, the 9 lords of death, the 9 lords of the night. I'm also giving thanks to the goddess Ischel and all of the female deities of the Mayan calendar. I'm giving thanks to the god Itzamna and all of the male deities of the Mayan calendar. I'm giving thanks to the Dzogchen itself and to the Hunab Ku, the one and only giver of movement and measure, the great central sun and black hole at the epicenter of the omniverse. And now, Carlos, is there any energies you would like to bring into our opening prayer?
There's the Kukulkan
Yes.
energy, and the ancestors that are my own personal spirit guides above me, and my father's energy. He's kind of joined the ancestors in my spirit circle above me. His Mayan birthday was 4 Reed, and it is still 4 Reed here today in Texas. And and to my great teachers, Tata Don Alejandro and Dr. Carl Kalaman, and other of all these other wise people I've met in my journeys. And you've been students for so long, and now I'm feel it's being called to teach a little bit more about all of my experiences. So thank you for coming this evening, and thank you and your guides and your ancestors as well.
They are watching.
Feeling that tingling sensation down my shoulders, down my spine right now as we talk. So they are definitely acknowledging our presence and our efforts that we're putting forth here today to spread the words.
Is open.
Thank you.
And it's interesting. Thank you for bringing up Dr. Kalaman. Today is his Mayan birthday where I am. I'm in Hiroshima, and the sun rises a little earlier here. So I'm already celebrating his birthday here.
Very fascinating that
It is
do this.
amazing. I love it. We're having this conversation here and now, and around us, the whole universe is spiraling.
30 years ago, it would have been impossible, maybe on the phone or something.
Right. I'd write you a letter.
Really, writing a letter.
Yeah.
All those books, a lot of the books were written so many decades before that, trying to compile all of this wisdom, and it's wonderful that we can instantaneously share like this now.
Yeah.
It's really it's really what was prophesized in all of those books, that we would have this new kind of existence. Very Star Trek, we just need our spaceships now.
Yes.
They're coming.
Yeah, I'm ready. Hello.
Yes.
Fascinating. So Dr. Kalaman, he is a jaguar, and I call that jaguar shaman. And being a 5, I call 5 empowering. So he's an empowering jaguar shaman. And I really feel that's true for him. He gives this information, this transformational information. And we were talking earlier about the interview he did with Don Alejandro Tata Cirillo. And you have met him a couple of times, like many times.
I was fortunate to know both Dr. Kalaman and Don Alejandro for several weeks at least, and Dr. Kalaman was here at my house for, it was gosh, what year was that? 2004. He came and did a class in Austin,
Right.
Texas, and this was a really great. It was an amazing meeting, and there turned out to be 13 people exactly with him as number 13. He had
Nice.
and 12 students there for that, and the
Did you
very
invite him there? That was at your invitation, yeah?
yes, yes.
What?
And before that, I had met Ian Lungold. I mentioned
Right.
that. So he was an associate of Dr. Kalaman.
Yeah. Did you know they
And
lived together in Cancun or in
the
Tulum?
thing was,
They lived in a one-bedroom apartment together for a while. Amazing.
that's
Two big men.
yeah. Ian was a fascinating character. Also, he actually taught me about the importance of getting up in the morning and talking about your dreams.
Okay, cool.
When we did that when I stayed at his place in Sedona for a little while.
All right.
It's
Lovely.
a couple of days and got to know him and but then Dr. Kalaman was the one who told me that I should go on the sacred journey with Tata Don Alejandro. So he gave that recommendation, and so I but that managed to make that happen
Yeah.
twice.
His interview here with Tata is absolutely legendary. It's almost never happened. I don't know of any other interviews like that with Mayan elders.
Uh, there was a whole gathering that Adam Yellowbird put together in Sedona for the Quetzal, the Eagle, and Condor
Oh, right. Beautiful.
gathering. Um, I don't know if there's video of that much video of that episode or not.
I haven't
Um,
seen any presence online, but
so
hmm.
and I also got to know oh gosh, Patricio. I think Dominguez was his last name. Patricio helped put together the first Eagle and Condor gatherings right after the harmonic convergence in 1987.
Okay.
There is video of that online with Tata leading the ceremonies
Oh
at
my
Ush.
goodness.
You
Fantastic.
can you can find that video and
I will look for
that. So
you did
Patricia,
you did a so you traveled with Don Alejandro
yes,
in 2007 the first time?
yes.
And where did that start? How did that happen? What was it?
I um I was living not here in New Braunfels, but in another little town around Top, and I would just, I just kept in contact with Dr. Kalman, after he was here for a while, and he actually came back a couple of times, for other events, and whenever he was doing like a book tour for one of his books, and so um, yeah, he just recommended I go on that, and I made sure to make it happen. I met Joseph Giovi, and talked with him and got to know him and his son, and it was just a marvelous time. We showed up at the airport in Guatemala City, and he
Right.
goes, there were about 18 of us,
Okay.
and a couple of other shamans with
Right.
Tata and Elizabeth,
And
so,
Elizabeth's
and
wife at that time.
yeah, he, like I said, he told us, and I love it, telling this story. He told us that some of you have read a mountain of books about the Maya, and he made it hand like un montón de libros de los Maya. Ustedes escuchan, saben más que yo. He said, you all know more than me. Everybody laughed. But
Right.
of course, his meaning was that we're going to really learn now.
Yeah.
You can forget all that stuff.
All those books written by Western people.
Right. Yeah. So it's but it's so neat. I mean, those books are great. You know, there's a lot of good
I
information.
love
All that. And I read at least twice as many or three times as many as that. You know, because I would just check out every book in the library and order books, and read just constantly reading about it, and now using that the images in my art also.
Oh,
See,
beautiful. Right. Yeah.
so the way to start learning the glyphs, you know, you have to draw them and all that. So that, but how the question that was left unanswered in all of these books,
Okay.
before I met Tata, you know, was like, what does it actually mean? You know, there was like all this stuff about the mechanics
Yeah.
of how the calendar works, and there are a lot of books about the math, and there was some interpretation of the glyphs, you know, like a Mayan dictionary kind of trying to get a lot, you know, but the big question that remained unanswered in all of those books is, what does it really mean? You know, why? So they were obsessed with time. Why? What
Sure.
was the obsession with time? How did they figure stuff out? You know, and then they, of course,
How?
Tata answered that when we did our first fire ceremony in at the call. You
Okay.
know, he said they came from that little constellation of the Pleiades up there and came and taught all this wisdom here. And
That's
so
partly
I,
why I read so much Pleiadian information is because I also feel the truth and the connection between the Pleiades and the Mayan
yeah,
people and the Mayan calendar.
yeah. So they're with us right now as we're doing this interview, the
Right.
ancestors.
Hey.
I can feel them coming in through us right now. So we want to start to really acknowledge that presence in there, and you can't get that out of a book. That's what you can't get from a book.
No.
And in a book, you can't get the forest and walking out in the jungle and feeling the presence of the ancestors in a book. You know, they can write about it, but you
Sure.
have to go experience that for yourself.
So you did
Right.
ceremony with Don Alejandro in Tikal. And can
And
you tell me about that? What was the experience?
this is such a epic experience. It
Oh,
was, I barely remember what he told me
wow.
in this reading that he did, because it wasn't so much what he was telling me. It was
Yeah.
this, I had a prophetic dream many
Yes.
years before
Okay.
I, I ever met or even thought about going to Guatemala.
Yeah.
And in this dream, it was in the late 90s. As I was doing the crystal, learning about crystal healing with these other shamans that I would meet, one of
Right.
the readings I got was like I had this vision of being a novice gatekeeper
Yeah.
and priest, just learning and training. And I
Okay.
was getting a reading from a shaman on top of a pyramid in this vision.
Yeah.
And all I remember that he told me in that vision, in that dream or vision, was, someday this will all be forgotten.
Ooh.
Okay, yes, someday this will all be forgotten.
Interesting.
And so there's many layers to meaning to that phrase. First, it was like a personal thing, because I was going to a shaman for a personal consultation, because my personal life was kind of messed up in a lot of ways. And the story unfolded after many, many more visions until I met my
Okay.
current significant other. So she answered a lot of those dreams. And but anyhow, um the real reading, when I did the first ceremony with in Tikal with Tata,
Yeah.
we did the whole fire ceremony. We did all he taught us all about the 20 days, and we
Right.
made an offering of Kopal for the 20 days. And that
Right.
was fascinating, beautiful ceremony. And so he's like, okay, now we're going to do some personal readings
Yeah.
on the side of this other pyramid. It's in Tikal. There's one between this, it's like a valley. There's one pyramid on this side and one on this side. So we're going to sit on this one pyramid and do the readings. And
Yes.
it started to rain.
Oh, cool.
When we're trying to have a reading, it starts to rain. And so we're like, oh, there's another pyramid with a hut on top, with a thatch hut, where we can sit under the thatch hut
Nice.
and get a reading and do this. So he had this beautiful cloth with the colorful and shiny thread,
Yep.
and had these red uh, beans or seeds, these red seeds
Yeah.
that he mixed. Made the whole prayer about the mixing, and then had some crystals laid out, everything, and Elizabeth was there to translate
Sure.
for us. And it, like, at that point when he started doing it, I was completely in the other previous vision that I had of it, and I was just so like, oh my, deja vu, like I was here. This was it. What I was shown in this vision. This is it, you know. And so I was just so flabbergasted that this was happening. I almost completely forgot what he actually told me at that time. It was like that wasn't quite as important as the fact that I dreamed about it before. Now, it was profound and it's meaningful reading. And he didn't say the words, "Someday this will all be forgotten," but there was
Oh, not the same phrase.
so much more implication about all of that, right? So the other levels, not just my own personal drama would be forgotten, but all of the Mayan culture would be
Right.
forgotten.
Well, yeah.
All of the teachings, all of the contact with the ancestors, all of this was all going to be forgotten.
Oh boy.
And what, right? For
Well,
hundreds
yeah.
of years.
I'm wondering if
You know?
your dream was actually like a past life experience,
Yeah.
maybe in the year 1500 or 1400 or 1300, saying that this would all be forgotten after the Spanish arrived. That's possible.
Well, yeah, yeah.
Wow.
And so much, is still left to be uncovered in the
Oh,
jungles.
yeah.
And incredible. It's just going to be generations before we completely. But I think it's just a matter. It's a matter of reviving
Yeah,
that way of life
certainly.
that built those cities in the first place, and they're starting to do that actually in Guatemala, and they're using modern architecture, modern designs, combining the classic Greek and Roman with the Mayan stepped pyramids, with the small town feel of just the walking cobblestone streets.
Yeah.
They're starting to build now the new kind of cities with all these ancient ideas combined now. Really going to be
I've never
fascinating.
been to Guatemala. I was all over Mexico in 1999 and 2000, from fall equinox to spring equinox. I went to many
Mhm.
sites, but I didn't get into Guatemala. I I didn't see any modern architecture that was drawing from the past. All the modern stuff is totally European,
Right.
as you know. So no respect for the Maya.
Well, that was before 2012,
Yeah,
right?
that was, like I said, in
Right.
1999 or
Yeah.
2000. I'm not sure what's going on now.
Well, the
Now,
big
can
shit.
I ask you what was your experience of 2012?
I actually, that day, December 21st, 2012, I did a big fire ceremony at Wimberley, this little town
Oh,
close by in the hill country.
nice.
And they had this Unity Church up there on the hill, and they're
Yeah,
very open church, as far as other ideas.
heard that about Unity Church.
Yeah, they're good, and I think they might have gone a little too far on some things, but that's okay. It's whatever, you know. However, it's a
Yeah.
great. I had some good friends there that helped me put it together, and a big crowd showed up. I had no idea when I got there. I was like, "Oh my god, I have to do a ceremony for all these people." I was like, "Oh,
Oh,
all right, let's go."
do this. That's awesome.
And so that night,
Yeah.
we did the ceremony, and the stars came out, and the alignment was right there in my face, right in our faces. There
With
was a great tree, right,
oh,
of stars lined up.
beautiful.
It was Arcturus and Sirius, and up the Orion's belt, but straight up and down. And then there was Jupiter on top of that with the Pleiades.
Oh my goodness.
It was extraordinary. It
Yeah.
was a real alignment, right? There had been this argument
Yeah.
between Dr. Kalaman
Yeah.
and Major Jenkins. Do you
Yes.
remember that?
Oh, I do.
It was a big online affair.
I've got their books here too. Yep.
So John Major Jenkins was just
Yeah.
focused on this alignment of
Yeah.
stars,
Yeah.
right? And Kalaman was focused on more of this whole more metaphysical change going
Yeah.
on in the galactic wave
And,
frequencies and all.
focusing back on the Tzolk'in and saying it should
Right.
happen on one Imish, which I see the logic.
Well, they were all three right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Kalaman was preaching October 28th, 2011,
Right.
and he was correct.
Did you do a ceremony on that day?
Yeah, we had an even bigger ceremony on October 28th. I have a friend here named Nancy, and so from San Marcos. She is friends with this group from New Zealand called the Waitaha.
Oh,
And
yes.
the Waitaha grandmothers.
Ooh.
And they're briefly discussed in Don Drunvalo Melchizedek's book, Serpent of Light.
Right.
And he meets this gentleman named Mackie,
Okay.
and he was a Waitaha shaman.
Yeah.
And he had a partner in the book. He just mentioned and his partner, but that was my friend Nancy that he was with.
Oh, okay.
So she met Drunvalo, and they went all around the world to talk to the UN, and they went to Egypt and the pyramids and Jerusalem and all these other big places all
Right.
around the world.
And
This,
many pyramids in Mexico, many Mayan pyramids.
right.
So Drunvalo, Melchizedek, and Tata did some ceremony together, right?
Well, he went on the same sacred journey that I did.
Okay. Oh,
Yes.
okay. But not at the same time as you.
I think it was like a year or two before I
Sure.
did.
Okay.
And so, yeah, we're on this little train of this path. It's really cool. So
Yeah.
you'll go day two. I'll take you down there if Tata's not around. So, or anyway, so where was I? October 28th,
Yes.
2011.
Yeah.
So I told you Dr. Kalaman was here. He was here first in 2004.
Yeah.
And then again in August of 2005. And this time he was with this wonderful lady, Annette Carlstrom.
Okay.
And the whole reason that I invited Dr. Kalaman in the first place the year before that was I found I don't know how, I was just searching on the internet and popped up this lady Annette Carlstrom, and she is in this room filled with all these people laying on the floor, just all blissed out.
Yeah.
And I just could tell by looking at these people how their expression and just how happy and full of energy and light they were. And I have to have that here. I don't know what they're doing or what this lady's talking about, but I want that here. And then suddenly there's another picture of her and Dr. Kalaman there talking with her.
Okay.
And so like, I know Carl, hey, let's have this happen here. And they were both very open to the idea. And Carl showed up for the first time he came down, and that couldn't make it. She had some other stuff going on, and so her schedule was off. So we planned another one the following year. And Dr. Kalaman left on a 13 Jaguar day.
Yeah.
He got on a bus, he went up to Dallas, and then he literally flew all around the world. He went to Urdu, Japan and India, back to Europe, and then back to the States. And then he showed up back in Austin, and on the very next 13 Jaguar, we were picking up Annette Carlstrom at the Austin airport.
260 days later.
260 days later.
Oh.
And so
that makes the hair on my arm stand up.
This is what the Mayan calendar is all about, these kind of synchronicities.
Synchronous.
happen. But it's not an accident, you know. The things aren't just happy accidents. There's some much deeper meaning. And it took me years to still, I'm still kind of like, okay, is this really right? Like, you know, to process it on my mental
Sure.
uh, side of things, you know, because my spirit was open and bringing all this and attracting all this in. Another
Yeah.
part of me is like, wow, is this really happening with the, you know, trying to,
Mhm.
and then to try to explain it to other people. It's like, you're not going to think I'm crazy, are you? Like, this
Uh-huh.
really happened. And it happened like this. And there's like, yeah, whatever, dude. You know?
Dude.
So, but,
Well, if they don't
well,
believe, that's fine, you know, like the magic and the synchronicity and the spirituality that is woven into this, you know, it's undeniable. It's, it's such
yes.
a you know, I call it living proof. And I love stacking up the Tzolk'in like the DNA, you know, that's a major part of my teaching. And it's kind of a little bit mysterious and even a little bit awkward that the first time we ever saw this stacked
Mhm.
Tolkien was through Jose Arguelles, right?
Oh, yeah.
He brought this information forward. No one else showed how the DNA connection to the Tzolk'in was so obvious. And
Yes. Well,
uh,
it's just quite unfortunate that he left the leap day in there.
oh yeah, well, there's a lot of funny things about his system, but you know, he definitely increased global awareness of the Mayan calendar. And even though his version was completely wrong,
Yes.
and you know, he brought in the
Yeah.
fear factor. He injected it with you know, the Hollywood war memes. Like he couldn't have picked a more triggering word than Skywalker.
Oh, right. Yeah. That
And then
was,
you
oh,
throw
God.
wizard, warrior,
Very,
dragon, and it's
I know,
just
wins. Like,
oh god,
cringeworthy. That's a word. Cringeworthy.
cringeworthy. Yeah, his cringeworthy calendar. But uh yeah, I you know, it's like a test of
Yeah.
discernment, you know,
Yeah.
if
Actually, the other early exposure I had to the Mayan calendar
uh,
was the rock band, Yes.
really,
They were totally into the harmonic convergence when that was happening.
really
And I saw them in Costa Mesa, California, and John
cool.
Anderson all hippied out with long dreads with crystals and this beautiful, like, flowing
Yeah.
outfit. And when they were singing songs about the harmonic convergence.
I did
And,
not know that.
yeah, and before that, in 1973, they had
Uh,
put out an album, Tales from Topographic Oceans. And
okay.
that has on the cover of it, they put the pyramid of Chichen Itza with the Nazca line on their album cover, you
Wow.
know?
I have
So
to
you
see.
should,
Oh,
and they actually use the word in the song, they use the Akin as
oh,
one of the lyrics of the song. And it's like, what is this?
in
What are they talking about?
1973.
Yes.
Ah, that's so beautiful.
So that was, you know, I because of the music, I was always very open to this kind of
Sure.
spirituality.
So tell me about classical guitar for you. You were performing for years,
Yes.
and how did that take shape?
Oh gosh, I did manage to get into the University of Texas guitar program.
Okay.
Um, I managed to do so without auditioning because I didn't know how to play classical guitar at all first, because of like Roundabout and some Rush songs, some
Okay.
other stuff. I'm gonna play classical guitar, whatever. And so um, I applied for the school right before they hired the guitar professor. His
Okay.
name was Adam Holzman. And he had an older brother, Bruce Holzman, and they both had a reputation of being very hard asses for
Sure.
his music teaching. And like, I'm still imprinted with that. Like I can't even repeat some of the rude things he would say. You can't play guitar, like you need to back or do whatever, just really hard ass kind of forcing. Be like, okay. But I stuck with it, and then I changed schools actually to here nearby in San Marcos. There was a Southwest Texas. Now it's just Texas State University. And it was the opposite. It was like totally lax. And like, yeah, do whatever. Sometimes the teacher wouldn't even show up, and like, okay, whatever. I just do whatever the thing. But then I started studying electronic music composition too. So that was a little closet in the music building that had some synthesizers and samplers and stuff. So I got to learn how to use all.
This was early 90s?
Yeah, like 89, 90, 91. So, but I was in school for I think 5 years, and I still thought I was a sophomore. And I was like, oh God, I think I call it a day for this, and just started traveling in Mexico.
Right.
Why? This came about. A friend of mine just came up to me with a National Geographic. That's my friend Sal, and he's like, "Hey, look, we're gonna go to this. Check it out." And like, okay, it's like a 8-hour drive from here.
Yeah.
Just hop in the car, go. Across the border. And and so we did that and discovered that Cuatro Ciénegas, I probably cat's out of the bag now. I guess it's the peyote out there in the desert.
Right.
Although huge. It's not a great place to gather. I don't want anybody to think that they can just go out there and harvest peyote like that. But
that's where
it is
mine as well. Real de Catorce.
Real de Catorce is much better for
is it?
For pilgrimage, because they have that holy mountain out there. So, but Cuatro Ciénegas is my heaven. I always say, just take me to Cuatro Ciénegas and drop me off when I'm doing. That's a beautiful place, and so that was the start of that other side of my journey.
Yeah,
not just Maya side, but the whole Native American church side.
Lovely.
So that's just equally as important, I think. So I try to teach the people that I meet who are in the local tribes here, whether they be the Carrizo Springs or the Apaches or the Navajos or the other people that I meet here that are American Indians. I try to tell them about the Maya calendar. Most of them are pretty open to it, and try to maintain the ceremony of ways of the Huichol in Indians in Mexico, as well. So I think one of the things that was wonderful about the old 2012 changeover, is all these different little cultures, started having to do ceremony together.
Okay.
They have different ways of doing things. Their own little teepee ceremonies or outdoors or whatever. There's different sun dances and other spirit quests and other tribal things that they all have their own little ways of doing it. And suddenly we're all one world and we all have to do it together. Right?
Awesome.
So the Hopi and the Navajo have to get along together and do their ceremonies. With all these other tribes coming up from South America and Central America, all these, and us going down there, sharing all these different ways that were separate before.
Right.
So just like a language develops and grows in different ways in different parts of the world, so these different traditions grow. And
ceremony.
Now after 2012, now we've all been working together and having to compromise and learn from each other. They're very still, especially like even like the Navajo, I was at the Native American church in this little town called Morendo City.
All right.
There was a grandmother, Amada, that had a little house there, and she passed away. And I was friends with the caretaker of that house.
Okay.
Gary Perez is his name.
Oh.
And he's like me. He's a Texan, right? He's Mexican, but he's part European Spanish too,
Yeah.
you know? So we have this blend of cultures to grapple with. And now we have to combine all these other tribes all coming together. And so even like the Navajo showed up and they set their teepees up, and there's some Navajo from New Mexico and another one's from Arizona,
Okay.
right? So they had their little separate, they were trying to figure out, you know, who's going to lead the ceremony and who's going to do this and that and the
Wow.
ceremony, right? And
Yep.
so my friend Gary, we sat in this hogan, and I wasn't even gonna get in the hogan because it's like not my business. But he's like, "Yeah, get in here. You got to get in here." And there, they
Oh,
all waited for me to get
nice,
in there
nice
and take part
experience.
in it. Like,
Right.
okay. And so he read them what Grandma Amada had written
Yeah.
as her will and testament how this place is to be run. And basically, it said, if y'all can't pray together, you pack your shit and get out. You know, didn't say pack your stuff and get out. You got to learn to pray together,
Beautiful.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they worked it out. You know, they're all right. It's like they sat and prayed all together, and it all worked out nice for them. So, but those kind of things are happening now, and so it's a big. And I imagine the rest of the entire world. So now we have to combine the Maya
Yeah.
culture with Buddhist
Oh,
culture.
interesting.
Yeah, you know, Tata actually, I saw a picture that he drew. That
Yeah.
you had the Buddha and the Maya, and you had this little circles drawn where they come together. You know, it's like so,
Little overlapping circles.
yeah.
Well, he was invited to Japan to do a big ceremony at a Buddhist temple. I believe that was the first time he came here, and I think it was in 2007. He and Elizabeth came here to a massive ceremony with the Buddhist group, and the name escapes me. I'll put it in the video later. But he's also been back many times, and she has been back very frequently, almost twice a year, to Japan. When I say back, because I live here.
Right.
Yeah, I've established a relationship with her in the last 2 years or so, just online so far. I haven't met her face to face, but I made a video about Tata's Mayan birthday, and I showed it to her, and she said, you know, he's living in a very small village with no internet, but she said, I watched it and I think he'd like it. So I was
Very sweet.
yeah, it was sweet. That was very nice. So
Yeah,
that's
like well,
a relationship, and we've had many conversations.
yeah.
She's,
So for anybody that has seen the movie Shift of Ages,
yes,
um, really an amazing. He does such an amazing job of at the first half of the movie was just Tata
yeah,
explaining this about listening to the spirit, you know, walking in that spiritual path and being able to hear everything from the voices from the forest, you know,
right,
talking to them, and the staff was something. And I went to L.A.
yeah.
when he brought the staff back
Sacred baton.
from that movie, and yeah, Dr. Kalaman has his own staff now too.
I'm sure
Somebody.
he does. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now,
So that was
you were telling me about the message from the grandmother on that
oh
area about how everyone, you just have to get together and pray together, and if you can't pray together, you know, get out. I was thinking about that movie, The Shift of the Ages, in the second half when one of I forget where was he from? The guy, he just stole the el baton. He stole the staff. Do you remember where he?
I'm not so sure it was stolen.
Oh no, no, but a
Borrowed
little bit
from
like
there.
Oh,
Some of that was, I think Steve Copeland mentioned, was it was kind of like they had to have some kind of drama and tension to make the movie, because if you just walked up and got it
sure.
back, it'd be, oh, that's not tension.
So,
So they added a little bit of drama in there,
yeah.
but he did get it back,
Yes.
and uh, and
You
after that,
saw
very possessive of it. He would not let anyone else touch it. After that, and
you
there's
saw a ceremony in Los Angeles after you got it back.
yeah, yes,
How did that
it
come?
was. So partly in the film, there's like just brief flashes of this ceremony that we were at, and they did another fire ceremony, big fire, and it was at a church, and Tata actually had some bodyguards around him.
Okay.
It was because apparently somebody had tried to blow some white powder at him, and they didn't know it. So they didn't know exactly what that was, but it
Interesting.
wasn't very nice for somebody to do that. So they had bodyguards,
Okay.
and but I did get another reading from him there, and I think the guy's name was Les Carney. I could be wrong about that, but he's a very nice guy. He had opened up his house for Tata to stay in,
Okay.
and we went there for another reading, and he told me to stay on the road. Stay on the path, don't get off the road.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's great.
And
Now, one thing I noticed about your website, for your art, you have a page for giving readings, and it says $0. So you like to give free Mayan readings to people. Is that right?
yes and no. That's
Okay. Oh,
if
there
they
was
purchase,
there was by donation I saw also. Yeah,
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 by donation.
of
Yeah,
course.
I was using this that website. I'm going to let slide
Okay.
because it's not been very good for business. Just I haven't, it's a lot of work
So
to
you do
do.
personal readings for people?
Yes, I do, and so I like to charge $60 for a reading. But if they want more in depth, we can go a lot deeper into. We do the four directions and your middle glyph and the four, and then the alternate. I'm not sure what the exact way to call this is. I
Yeah.
tried to say it's tic tac toe, but Tata did not like me saying that. I said, "Don't call it that.
Yeah.
It's not tic tac toe. We're not playing tic tac
Just like
toe."
it, but
In this, but what happens is can be very, very deep, especially if you're doing it for like a couple or
oh,
family
wow.
relationship, right?
Yep,
This is
yep,
what it's really good for. So the place where those squares lines up or the numbers line up,
yep.
right? That's where they have their harmony. And
Yes.
so if a couple is doesn't really have much harmony in those charts,
Right.
then it's not really gonna work out
Makes
so
sense.
well.
Yep.
So you got to look for those things that we have in common on those charts. So
Sure.
two people, you and I are eagles, so we're gonna have a lot in
Right.
common with
Yep.
that in there. So that the only difference would be the numbers there.
Yeah.
Um, so
Now, can I ask you this? Do you add two people to make a third entity, or do you only look at their separate charts? So, for
I look at
example,
their
my wife is Ho Muluk, so she's 5 of the ninth glyph, Muluk, and I'm the 15th, the eagle. So I would add 9 and 15 to come up with the fourth glyph, Khan. Do you do that at all, or do you keep it two separate
I
charts?
I would keep it two separate charts.
Right.
So I think you might be onto something.
I do
Yeah,
like the concept of adding, and then also I'm a 7 and she's a 5, so that makes a 12. So
yeah.
together we would be 12 Khan or Kat in the Guatemalan pronunciation. And I like that. I like doing that for couples, or I've even done it for like mother-daughter
Mhm.
relationship. And I think it adds information.
yeah. Like for
That's
my own family, like my father and mother have a lot in common, and
sure.
we all have overlapping, you
Yeah,
know, areas on the
right,
charts.
right.
That's
My mother's an eagle as well.
yeah. My mom is a crocodile,
Okay.
11 crocodile, but
And
on
that's
my
on your
chart,
chart.
I have a crocodile, 6 crocodile
Yeah.
on the masculine side.
To your masculine side. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Mine too.
So that day, like that day was the day of 9/11,
Ah,
2000. Right, that was 6 crocodiles, so that was on my masculine side of the chart. So I was affected there with that energy, and I made a massive uh, change after that.
did you?
You know, really, I was getting on the road. I was getting. I said,
Yep.
okay, there's a lot more to this that I need to know about. You
Yeah.
know, and so I was aware of the 2012 coming up, and
Sure.
and to initiate a lot of stuff. And from Dr. Kalaman's book, I actually found his book right after 9/11.
Okay.
I was driving around. Austin was completely like not shut down, but there was like nobody on the
Vacant.
streets. Like,
Ghost town.
vacant. Everybody was staying home,
It was a couple
hunkering
of
down.
days
No,
after.
yeah, just a couple of days after, I got to do something. But I ended up at a bookstore, Whole Life Books, and I found just like I was just drawn, like just in something just pulling me,
So
and I found Kalaman's book on the shelf, took it and bought it, and took it home and read it. I was like, mine was so. Then the one of the in that book, he talks a lot about the Venus transit.
okay, right.
So the Venus transit was extremely important. I have my own book here too, which is it's not showing up in
Oh
the
yeah. The Zoom is not letting me
one.
see it there. Oh,
There it
there,
is.
there it is. So yeah, yeah. You wrote your own book, didn't you?
Yeah.
What year did you write that?
2006.
Okay.
But I've been keeping a journal since the
Yeah.
90s,
Oh,
right? So my journal from the late 90s to 2006, and
I
up it goes ends in December 21st, 2012.
yeah,
But so it's like you build your own story, write your own story journal there.
sure.
So, um, so the Venus transit,
Go buy that book on Amazon. Is that right?
yes.
Okay, cool.
But you might have to order from me if you can't, if there's none left.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
So, Venus transit was extremely important
Right.
uh, because it was it was a portal from June 2004, June 6th, 2004 to June was it 8th, 2012. Okay, so
Oh, gee.
was right. So Venus actually went in front of the sun. So the first time it was 6 wind,
Yeah,
eek, 6 eek.
got it.
And I was here at home, and I had my computer open up with all these um, telescope
Yeah,
channels that
yeah.
were showing a live feed of Venus going in front of the sun from all these different telescopes. So that was pretty cool. I was like, but it was like I was by myself. That was
Yeah.
2004, and then June, July. Then Kalaman shows up.
Oh, okay. The book.
That pyramid, Dr. Kalaman
Yep.
shows up, and then
Oh,
that's
okay. To do the
whole
workshop at
do the
your
workshop.
oh,
And so
yeah.
that starts off this entire chain of events. And so we just said, okay, well, this is good. Let's do another one. Let's do another one. Let's do another one. Let's do the ceremony. And then I went to the to Tikal with Tata to the Sacred Journeys there. Then I met another ex of mine, and we did another journey. I did 2 journeys to Guatemala,
Right.
and then there it all culminated. And then there was October 28th, 2011,
11.
huge ceremony. We had all these different shamans from all over the world, the Muslim women shamans from
Wow.
Europe, from Mexico, from South America, from Japan, and from all over the world. There was this huge group of shamans that came, and they all brought water from their
Right.
native land, and
Oh,
we combined the water into the
Right.
this big bowl. And you know, the Waitaha grandmothers were all there, and then
Oh,
had this. We poured the bowl into the springs, the sacred springs in
okay.
San Marcos,
Oh,
Texas. And those springs used to actually literally have water shooting up out of the middle of a lake, but the bless their hearts, white people came and decided that they wanted to shut off that water from shooting up out of the lake. So they
oh, okay.
poured it up. I hope we open that up someday.
Yeah,
I'll just have to go open it myself.
definitely.
Yeah.
It was amazing. So all this stuff happened in the Venus transit period.
Okay.
You see, that was 8 years
Yeah.
of straight ceremony. It was like that's what was my full-time job then, was
Right.
just organizing and creating these ceremonies.
Oh my
And
goodness.
um, all over the place. And then in 2012, a friend of mine went to a retreat with Dr. Stephen Greer
Oh, cool.
of the Disclosure Project.
Yeah.
And
I love his.
so, yes. So my friend comes back. He actually is in a couple of those movies, a serious movie.
Oh, yeah.
And so he comes back and he's like, hey, I learned this meditation
Right.
to DE5.
Yeah. Yeah.
we had a group of people. We got gathered together. Okay, let's go try this. There are like 8 of us in there. And so we go to this park in San Marcos. There's a circle that somebody put a tile compass for directions on the ground. We're sitting there, and like, so we're visualizing. Okay, visualize the galaxy. Okay, see our arm of the galaxy spinning, and see our little cluster of stars that we're in, and then find our solar system here, right? Visualizing all the planets, and then you see this Earth with the moon going around it, and then you visualize our continent, and you just keep zooming in as if you're coming from out of the galaxy, right? Into the Earth's atmosphere, and you see Texas, and you see, you know, and then I got a feeling while we're doing this meditation. I look up. I just like look up, and a light turns on. Bling.
Wow.
All right, the guys look up. Everybody look up. Everybody looks up, and it starts to move, and it flashes like it's bright, pulses like it's brighter, and then it goes back down, and it keeps moving. Everybody's like, ah, it worked. And so after that was in the summer of 2012, like July or something. And after that, every day we went out there, it was just swarms of light ships.
Wow.
Yes. And so that was actually predicted in this other book here. Oh, gosh. This is not helpful.
Put it like right on your nose. Yeah, there
we go. Book of Chumayel. This is a very real prophecy. This is not what you learn on the History Channel. This is a real prophecy.
Whoa.
Now, it says Chumayel. That is a town.
Right.
In the Yucatan. And so all the towns had these books.
Right.
Right. Every town had their own little prophecy book.
Yeah.
They're all very similar. Not all of them got burned.
No.
And I'm sure many of them are in the Vatican. They're ready to come out. But a lot of them were written down in Spanish.
Right.
Right. The Spanish letters, but the Mayan words.
Right.
This book has the translation. Mayan on one side, and then the English translation on the other page. Right. So this book actually is the real truth, what's happening. In the very last paragraph of this book, it talks about the ancestors returning, and that they will, what do we say here?
Yeah, go ahead and read it for me.
They will, it talks about this concept of the double 2-day prophet lords. So there was a legitimate controversy about the days of the calendar, whether they're off by 2 days.
Okay.
And there was a professor from the University of Texas, another Barbara, I read her last name, but she was telling me that it's because of the eclipses. So you
Oh,
have to time by the eclipses,
okay.
right? That's how they time the calendar. But she was on the favor of the other 2 days, so that would have been December 23rd.
Right.
20 would have been the end of the calendar, but I'm on the December 21st side, so it's ta. That's
Yeah,
okay.
that's
That is,
enough.
but that's a legitimate controversy if you want to argue about what's okay. So anyhow, let me read this
Go
part.
ahead.
So the double 2 day people were the Spanish with their
Yeah.
Gregorian calendar. So the double 2 day people in their councils, double 2 day, their seats, their gourds, their hats, the crazy days, the crazy night, the monkeys over the world, bent and neck, their faces wrinkled up, dribbling at their mouths, at the prophet lords of the lands, Father. You see they're coming, like Tata was pointing at, see that little cluster of stars? They're coming here. That there is no truth in the words of the owners of the town,
Okay.
but they are going to explain great mysteries. The engendered sons of 7 deserted houses and the offspring of 7 deserted houses, Father. Which person will be the diviner? Who is to be the sun priest? Who is going to communicate correctly the word of the glyph truly?
Wow.
The end.
Ah,
That's a question. And so I figured,
yeah.
well, I've not seen a copy of this book anywhere else. I had to special order it off of, and so I think if it's asking who's to be the sun priest, I think I better take up that calling
I
and
agree with you,
use,
sir.
use that nomenclature, sun priest, in
Yeah.
here, and diviner. So my paintings, like this painting
Yeah.
behind, these are paintings of prophecy.
Right.
My friend Nancy just gave me that name for a book.
Ooh,
Your paintings of prophecies.
oh yeah. Thank you,
He was
Nancy.
there. So my paintings are very prophetic, and even they'll come true years later after I've painted them. You know, something will happen that show, oh my God, that's really what this is about. These
Okay.
paintings, you know. So the ancestors are returning, right? The ancestors, the Anunnaki, the Pleiadians, there's the Galactic Federation, there's a bunch of them.
Sure. Yeah.
There's a whole up there coming down right there.
Uh,
Some of them have been here all the time and didn't never left, but we're getting aware of them again now.
right.
So they're here to explain these great mysteries.
Yeah.
So, like, what's the meaning of life?
Sure. Yeah, that's just one.
a deep one. Yeah, I actually asked. I got to ask Tata. We had this dinner. We had this place called Las Cumbres. It's this amazing hot springs up in this mountain. So it's like freezing cold, but we're in the hot springs, and so it's awesome. And we're having dinner at this big long table. There's the whole crew of us on the journey, and he was talking about the corruption of the politics and all this stuff. It was kind of it's coming up, and I just had this question pop into my head. It's like, how did we end up in this state where there's all this corruption and evil stuff happening in the world?
Right.
What really, how did this end up like this? And he spent the next half hour like spinning these bottles. Imagine this is a galaxy and there's a huge long. And again, I just don't even remember. I remember him spinning these wine bottles around like he's doing cycles like this and
Yeah.
like that. And his presentation of the answer, I remember very clearly. And he said, and that's why. Yeah. I was like, oh, thank you.
Okay. So, yeah.
So
Awesome.
fascinating stuff.
Oh yeah.
So where are we? I think I've
Well,
gone through most important stuff. There's so much more to all these little stories, you know.
yeah, yeah. No, here we are today in September of 2023. Um, how are you using the Tzolk'in every day? How does it fit into your life?
Well, it is every day.
Yeah,
It's good to know. Um, Sometimes I have a slip up in my memory.
right,
We'll forget something, but that's actually, there's no such thing as a mistake.
right.
You know, there's some meaning behind each day. But if you think it's six eagle today and it's four reed still, or if you think it's four water and it's four reed or something, if
Yeah,
you have this something else in your mind, and you're
right.
thinking, you're having this energy, you're feeling that energy. There's
Yep.
something else calling you to feel
Message.
that
Uh-huh.
energy.
Yeah,
So, but if it's best to be aware of what day today is, it's
yeah.
best to know that today is my father's energy, and it's also the energy of the day that Kennedy was assassinated. You know,
Ooh.
or reed. So think about that. That's a reed
Yeah,
and the number four,
yeah,
right? Crosshair, and the reed is a sign of the patriarch,
yep,
right? So the patriarch in a crosshair.
yeah.
Cross, see that symbol there, very powerful.
Oh
Uh,
boy, amazing.
and that affected the whole world. So today, it might not be a big event just like that happening, but that energy, we feel that presence of that energy is going to hold, that day is going to hold this energy forever.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I
So
do.
every day that there's something going on that, it's just going to recall the past, and it's going to program the future,
Right.
even though it helps keep you in the present moment, helps you stay grounded in the
Right.
now, right? So a lot of people, here's a confusion that a lot of people have with the Mayan calendar.
Yeah.
We're so programmed into this Gregorian calendar that, okay, the sun went around the earth, or the earth went around the sun.
Yeah.
It's tax time to pay your taxes. Oh, okay. It went to this location. Okay, go buy Christmas gifts. Go shopping.
Yep.
Go shopping. It's time. Oh, it's Easter. Oh, well, celebrate your Lord. Take your mother to church and pay taxes and whatever. It's your birthday. Go buy presents. It's all this consumer culture is the programming of the Gregorian calendar. So a lot of people don't, they're so used to just being in that flow of time like that, it's just totally disruptive to their being and their natural um, state of mind that they ought to be, their soul time, right? You're out of that harmony with your
Oh,
soul in there. So I try to keep, um, I might not make a video every day or something, but I'll put something out on the internet to communicate the day, and or try to do something that involves the energy of the day,
yeah.
right? So yeah, it does help keep you very grounded and
Right.
close to those ancestor spirits in there. It's their calendar. It's the spirit of the ancestors, mine, that keep that spiritual calendar, because
Yeah.
like even I love Dr. Kalaman so much. He's such a great guy, and he's on this amazing path. And even Tata said Dr. Kalaman does good work.
Yeah.
It's he's gonna. But however, after now, what's happening is that, do we really know that the days always lasted as long as they last? You
Ooh,
know,
interesting.
do we know that for a fact? Do we know that we always had the same tilt of the axis, 22.5 degrees? Was it always like that? Did we always have a moon?
Right.
Is kind of the question now. How did that moon get there? Right?
I just
What
watched
happened?
the moon fall last night with my two
Right.
kids. Great
Yeah,
movie.
there's so many questions still. What's this, even the speed of light? Is the speed of light constant? Do we really know that? What was it like at the Big Bang? Did that happen? There's so many questions. And so Dr. Kalaman's work is
Mhm.
kind of dependent upon those things being constant.
Right.
And so, but I'm feeling that there's a lot more flux uh, going on than we realize right now, and
Yeah,
that's going to
say
be part of
there's
the
16.4 billion year fractal of this is
yes.
like you said, that assumes time was constant back then too. And I'm not sure we can say that.
Right.
I like it as a concept.
Yeah.
But in a way it's kind of more like it's Western in a way. You know what I mean? It's more science. It's more
Yes.
like left brain logic. It's therefore that.
Oh, that was one of the wonderful things about having Annette Carlstrom here.
Okay.
And so we did this weekend presentation
Yeah.
at this San Marcos spring. Back it used to be called Aquarina Springs, and they
Oh,
had these little rooms that we could. It was like a little amusement park, and they had a swimming pig and all this other stuff. It was crazy. But anyway, and that was totally in the
yeah.
other hemisphere. There were both there. There was two hemispheres going on.
Right
Dr.
mind.
Collins was completely logical and
Yeah.
showing the counting the days and how it all
Yeah,
worked.
yeah,
And then that would come up. Oh yeah, I'm just gonna bless look you in the eyes, and I'll just like come up, and this is gonna be beautiful, and just doing blessing us with this light energy, just so we could feel all these amazing things happening. She wasn't like explaining this works because this part of your
yeah.
brain has
Right.
it. She was like, oh, we're just gonna be in this beautiful flow. And we were even late. Oh, she's a plating a ground crew.
Yeah.
So
The 88
we are.
ground. I love it.
So that was where was I going with that? Yeah, just amazing integration of the
Yeah,
left
the
and the right.
male, female, love, the
Yeah.
heart.
So that's where we're at this point where those things have no. I mean, the majority of human beings on this planet are still pretty asleep, but I think there's more of us waking up than the media wants us to know about.
I think you're right there. Like I see it everywhere. People talking about the divine feminine, divine masculine, and how we all have both, like I see that all the time. It's amazing. That was impossible, knowledge 20 years ago. And I think there's even that kind of information is coming through some Christian people too. They're starting to recognize that Mary Magdalene was a high priestess, possibly in the Isis or Hathor goddess religion. And the two of them came together to be the divine feminine and masculine, both of them. So there is a big shift coming. It's happening. We're in it.
We're over the line for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
I mean, but I tell people, it's not going to be a light switch. It's like not just suddenly going to be different on December 22nd.
Yeah.
It's not. There's kind of this is just that was just a pivot point. And the seesaw was going the other way, and so we're totally in the new time. But it's just a matter of integrating it, getting this. Whoever owns the media, they've got to go. We got to get rid of
Yeah.
that propaganda machine. That's
Right.
keeping people down. And but a lot of like the great mysteries is that there is some alien stuff going down, and we're
Yeah.
gonna have to
Yeah.
deal with Anunnaki.
Right.
And we're gonna have to. There was a movie that was going to be made called One Anunnaki. It was actually going to be a trilogy. Kind of like what's that Avatar movie?
Right.
It was going to be a huge production, and it was going to have the whole story of the Zachariah Stitchin books
Yeah.
version of Anunnaki
Right.
coming back.
Mining
And,
gold.
yeah, so that was going to be out there, but the whoever they are in charge of the earthly realm
Yeah.
said no, not that movie yet.
Much
So it was squelched, and the director ran away with the film to Mexico, and
Wow.
never got made. But
Interesting.
it was supposed to explain all of that pre-Garden of Eden.
Yeah, right, right, right. Well, that information is still seeping through
Yeah.
the ground, you know, like you said, Zachariah Sitchin, he wrote about it 50 years ago, man. Like, you know, this we I'm so excited. You know, like
It is very exciting times.
we chose the best time to reincarnate. It's so exciting.
So it's so funny because there were so many decades of my life that I just was
Uh-huh.
waiting. Come on, let's
Right.
go.
Yeah.
Everybody else was
Yep, yep, yep.
not quite there yet,
All that
but
part of
now,
the process, you
yeah.
know. And yeah, I had a lot of resistance, you know. I was running away from culture, from my family, from everything, you know. Like
Mhm.
I was a DJ in Vancouver, and I was doing a lot of psychedelics and everything else a long
Yeah.
time, and just ignoring
Well,
this,
those are the real medicines, yes.
and some
The,
real ones.
the
It was
natural.
intentional. It was intentional, but there was also a lot of, you know, escapism going on for sure.
Mhm.
And now, like, no alcohol, no drugs, no tobacco, no coffee, you know, like my only drug is cacao. My heart is so open, I can't, you know, I'm just so open. It's every day is a ceremony and a celebration, and
Yes, yeah.
it's so beautiful. Like my love for humanity, even my love for the Anunnaki, you know, my love for the Pope. Like I love the Pope and all the Catholics and all of the Christians, like love them, you know, like they are all
Okay.
one. Like we are all one. So it's been a huge awakening and a process, and it's just so beautiful. And the Maya have a huge part in that. And if it all came from the Pleiades, super. if, if it just came from Mexico, great. I don't care. I love it. And
Hopefully, I'll be living in Mexico again soon.
yeah,
Just gotta
right
reach the
on.
soul house that we're in right now,
Uh-huh.
and yeah,
Whereabouts? Where do you want to live?
Miguel de Allende.
Okay, yeah. I didn't make it to there.
It's well, I actually avoided it for a long time because I heard it was a place where a lot of gringos and expats
Yep.
hung out. I was like, I want
Yep.
to go to Mexico with Mexicans.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
now
yeah.
now that I've actually been there, it's like, oh wow, okay. All
Okay.
my art, all these
Yeah.
paintings that I've made will fit in perfectly there in San
Right.
Miguel.
Is
Yes.
that near Acapulco? I don't have an
No. It's central. It's right above Mexico City. There's a
Oh,
bunch of little towns north of Mexico City.
yeah.
It's between there, Luis Potosi,
Okay.
and there's Leon and Guanajuato and Querétaro, all in that general vicinity of Mexico there. It's very central. It's kind of like the Texas Hill Country. I don't know if
Yeah, yeah.
familiar with that. It's very
A little
pleasant.
bit. Yeah.
Um,
Nice and dry, nice and
yeah.
warm.
So, but it'll be just a hopping off point to the
Yeah.
rest of Mexico. I
Sure, sure.
like the idea get on a bus and be
Uh-huh.
the pyramids in a couple of hours or
Pancake, you know,
wherever I want to be.
Acapulco is my
Well,
center.
yeah, I've been there, I don't know, 4 or 5 times maybe.
Yeah.
Each time I get to explore more. It's oh gosh. I went into the aqueducts one time. You're not
Yeah.
supposed to go. Not supposed to go into the little
Right, right, right.
There's big spiders bigger than my hand and bats.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, let's go back.
Okay. Yep. You guys stay
That's,
here. And the bats, spiders and the bats.
yeah. But it's a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Well, I'm feeling like you know, your future may have you be doing more ceremony again. I'm feeling like that's going to be your role, you know, and just really bringing it in. And yeah, you know, just keep
Yeah, I know that I got more vision questing to do for sure.
right.
Sharing, but yeah, just so I definitely want to be able to share, talk about what's going on in my paintings,
Yep,
and
yep, yep,
make more of them. There's a lot of stories that I need to tell,
right.
and but it's like it's more the heart chakra energy is
Yep,
pulsing up. Be sure, because just telling a story without that element is
right.
not quite the
No.
same as like I said, all those books that you got behind you there. They're
Yep,
great books. There's
sure.
some great stuff, but it's
Yeah,
not the same as hearing directly from the ancestors,
yeah, indeed.
hearing the prophecies and studying your dreams and knowing really, oh, okay, this is
Right.
um, there's more meaning, in the characters in your dream, you
Yeah.
know, and so that was another thing that actually Ian Lungold told me early on. Is like
Really.
I was asking him about something about the calendars
Yeah.
and going on, and he's like, "Well, does it mean anything?" He's like, "It doesn't help you, or does it help anybody?
Right.
You know, or is it just information? Is it just
Yeah.
info for the
Right.
sake of knowing? Oh, I know this or something, or does
Sure.
it
Yeah.
knowing something that can help somebody?"
Yep.
That's a big dip, and that actually was Ian Lungold that told me that.
Oh,
Huh.
beautiful. Just
Yeah.
focus on the individual, the emotions, you know, how are you feeling right now? You know, it's
We're
be
all going to have questions,
sure.
man. And one of my visions and my experiences with Arcturian ships is they're like, this guy's asking too many questions. I was not ready. When you're on the ship, just zip it. Say,
Well,
I'm happy to.
oh, yeah,
Things are going to change that fast, I think, right now.
awesome.
So,
Right. Very exciting. Good
um,
times. Okay,
yeah,
Carlos, I'm feeling like we can wrap things up now.
thank you so much for this opportunity. And I hope to learn more about your path and what you
Yeah.
want to do with all of this wisdom someday.
Right. Well, I'm working on a book, a website, and an app. I want all of that to be released. And
Well,
it
maybe collaborate on some of that because I have ideas for that stuff. And my book was originally supposed to be a codex. It's
yes.
like because I had the codex I showed you last time.
Yeah.
It
Oh,
had all
yeah.
the
Right.
just,
Oh,
that's annoying.
oh,
But
Zoom.
anyway, the
I know.
Dresden Codex.
Fold
Like,
out.
what if somebody could just read this, in English?
Right.
So we use it
Oh my
and
goodness.
all. And I actually have another book that I found the airport in Guatemala City, and this is a Soul King book, but it's got the long count as well in
Oh,
here. So it actually has the Gregorian
yep.
date and the Soul King date and the long count
Wow.
date. Yeah, so you can look up your birth date all the way back to the
Yeah, yeah.
1930s until December 21st, 2021 or 2012. Excuse me. So this is a really cool book. And Tata had one like this that he carried around also.
Oh,
Pretty sweet.
excellent.
So yes, thank you
Oh,
again.
right. All right.
We're kidding. Feeling the energy. I think we did what we came here to do.
Yep.
That's
For this
amazing.
time, there will
End of
be.
a ceremony. We did what we came here to do.
Yeah.
And the Native American here is to say aho matakwiasan.
Aho, Matakias.
Aho matakwiasan. That is to all my relations.
Right. Fantastic. And I will just close with Een Lak'esh, Alakin, and Namaste.
All right. I hope.